Things are going really poorly over at Paradox Interactive. Before Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 even released the teasers and trailers, we're getting wrecked by gamers. Now that it's out, it's got an extremely low score. There's been so many videos floating around the internet showing off this title's terrible quality, and now we're finding out that they have taken the blame for the poor sales and announced a $37 million write-down. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I do understand that yes, a publisher can be at fault for a title failing. They rushed the developers to the finish line. They set unrealistic goals, though the developers, in my opinion, are still to blame because they are the ones who wrote an extremely progressive script. They are the ones who decided to do away with some of the very important features. They are the ones who chose the general aesthetic, which in my opinion was awful in this game, and really they just didn't put their best foot forward. But while Paradox is taking the blame and some people might change their opinion on this, I'm not going to, personally. So publisher Paradox Interactive has taken the blame for the poor sales of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. The long in development sequel launched in October and was met with a mixed Steam user review response, with fans saying it failed to meet the expectations they had for the sequel to the 2004 classic, and only a couple of weeks after release it went on sale, though Paradox has issued a note to financial markets signaling a write-down valued at 355 million SEK, or approximately $37 million, of capitalized development costs for Bloodlines 2. This write-down, Paradox said, was based on an updated sales forecast. Now, it has had a month to look at Bloodlines' commercial performance, which is bad. You let everybody down. You created a game that nobody wanted. We expected you guys to do better, and it's not selling, and that is your fault. It is on everybody, in my opinion, and I don't see them doing a No Man's Sky or a Cyberpunk 2077 turn with this title, because sometimes, yes, developers can put a lot of time into it and they put a lot of money into it and they can fix it up, but this just has to be completely scrapped. It in no way, shape, or form was the product that people wanted, and some people waited decades and decades for this to release, which is so sad. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is a strong vampire fantasy, and we are pleased with the developers' work on the game. We've had high expectations for a long time since we saw that it was a good game with a strong IP and a genre with a broad appeal. A month after release, we can sadly see that sales do not match our projections, which necessitates the write-down. The responsibility lies fully with us as the publisher. The game is outside of our core areas. In hindsight, it is clear that it has made it difficult for us to gauge sales. Going forward, we focus our capital to core segments, and at the same time will evaluate how we best develop World of Darkness's strong brand catalog in the future. So they're not really blaming themselves for apparently rushing the development team. That is what we heard from developers, was that the CEO and some of the people that are higher ups, like this guy who was talking, were rushing them to completion and telling them, oh my gosh, you just have to build off of what the past developers had started, and you've only got so much time and money at your disposal. But they're not taking the blame in that case. They're just saying, oh, we had projections that were slightly too high and it got away from us. But Bloodlines 2 has 2 separate expansions planned as part of the game's premium edition, and Paradox said it remains committed to delivering them, but I personally think that they're going to be half-assed. I don't see why they would put a lot of effort into creating extra content that virtually nobody is going to be playing. It's like what Ubisoft just did with the Attack on Titan crossover. First of all, that was an extremely insane crossover. It made no sense at all whatsoever. Though, putting that to the side for a minute, the quality level was extremely low, and then they had the gall at the end of it to say, by the way, you can buy a premium skin for $20. Like, you continue to insult fans, but why would they put a a ton of work and effort into it if basically nobody's going to play it. It's like with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Why would they actually give you cool characters you want to play as when nobody's playing it? These companies' mentalities for too long have been, how can we squeeze money out of our customer base? How can we nickel and dime people? And it's got to stop. Nobody's going to trust you. Nobody's going to respect you. Nobody is going to like you. And all you are doing are embarrassing yourselves. You need to get rid of the activists who, yes, did help ruin games like this by giving it cringy dialogue. You have to actually focus on what customers want and really put enough money aside so the devs can do their job and you can hire the right people, because it is always better to hire one veteran developer than 25 juniors. And you need to stop pumping out games. I get that Bloodlines 2 had a lot of hype behind it, but it would have been better for you to delay it or take extra time if it meant it was going to come out and actually be the game that people wanted. And clearly, this was not. The all-time peak at release on Steam was 27,020 players, which is low. In-game right now, 597. And yes, this is a single-player title, so once people finish it, they don't play it again until they want to do a replay or until DLC comes out. But these numbers are horrific after the years and years and years of hype that was behind it. And if we head on over to Steam, yes, you can also see that it is sitting at a mixed on Metacritic. It's bad, but regardless, there are people who are saying, I waited until I finished the whole game to write this. I wanted it to be fair, but every minute made me more disappointed by the end. It was way worse than I thought. I wish it never came out and just stayed the canceled game we waited years for. I'm saying this as a big fan of the first game and some tabletop experience. I know development was messy and studios changed, but my complaints are about the choices they made. I pre-ordered because I loved VTMB. This game was total trash. It isn't an RPG at all. Choices don't change the story much. No alternative paths, no stat pages, no hacking, no lock picking, no talking your way out, no weapons, melee or firearms, no real freedom. Game design repeats the same old boring stuff. And yeah, unfortunately, it is just a cringy millennial take on like a modernized vampire experience. I'm sure you all remember the male and female body options. If you look really closely, you can tell which one is the male and which one is the female, but at a quick glance, they are so similar, you probably can't really tell. You can't create attractive looking characters. You can't create really masculine men or feminine women. There's so much writing in this that is just terrible. It's so sad that this happened, that yet again, fans were disappointed and let down by developers. Ultimately, it's the save system that's a deal breaker. No manual saves, one single autosave, and saves at the end of every major story mission, hours apart. I could put up with the game's other jank if I could use the save systems to fix it, but I can't. I went into this knowing it was probably not going to knock my socks off and that it wasn't going to be a true sequel to my favorite game, knowing that I still shilled out the full 70 for the deluxe because I had thought maybe it won't be so bad and it will pass as a decent VTM game. Holy crap, I could not have been ready for the actual worst game I've spent that much money on. And also, don't forget that they wanted to charge you $30 for day one DLC for some of the clans. They thought that people were going to eat this up. They really were confident, and if we hadn't have been so vocal, that would have happened. Luckily, we stuck to our guns, we stood up for ourselves, and it turned out well for us. But Paradox Interactive is facing major problems. That's insane, but 100% Paradox is to blame, forcing devs who don't work on large, complex RPGs to produce one, or to let go of the writing team responsible for the first. It's sad seeing franchises like this and Dragon Age suffer from mismanagement. And yeah, I mean, this is definitely a big problem, but I still think that the developers that worked on it could have done better. They still could have ultimately at least created a story that was good, and they deserve to be pointed and laughed at, a whole lot of them. It sucks, yeah. With the way the gaming industry is in 2025, it's refreshing to see someone taking accountability instead of blaming it on the customers being cheap, poor, not appreciating quality, etc. Yeah, and I am glad, but at the same time, they're clearly doing this because they could not actually pull the card of its gamers' fault in this case. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, critics gave it a 63 and users gave it a 4.6, which is definitely higher than it probably deserves to be. So right now we're finding out Paradox Interactive has announced a $37 million write-down because Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 did so terribly for them, and I can't say I'm surprised. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.